Happy Wednesday, everybody. Jack O'Malley here with you, along with the Dukester. Duke is right here. You can just see his ears. Let me slide in here. He wanted up, so I made room for him. Hey, I want to touch base on a few things. Passing scene again. There's Duke. We are in recess, if you will, here this week out of Lansing. We'll be back. I'll be back next week. Spending time meeting with folks by way of road commissions and community support people, and just reaching out to the 101st so that I can learn more while I'm here in district, because next week we'll be back in Lansing, and we'll keep rolling. So just wanted to let you know, and what we're doing tomorrow. Gosh, I can't even remember. I'm meeting with different groups. I can't remember, keep it all straight, but some of it's Zoom, some of it's been in person, and that's nice too. I do want to talk briefly. We've seen an uptick in cases in Michigan, and there's lots of reasons, and we can argue this and argue that. I think one of the things that I'm on a waiting list for my COVID shot, and I'll be happy to get it. The thing I say about the shots is if you are willing and able, I encourage you to get your COVID vaccine. And why? I am not for mandates, right? Same thing with masks. I think you should wear the mask. Heck yes, you should wear the mask. When you're out in public, I can see where 8 hours a day and whatnot, it's a problem, but I wear my mask. Do I think it helps? I don't know, probably not. But if it makes other people aware to stay a little bit back, I'm all for it. I'm not going to rehash all of that. I think you should get the COVID vaccine. Get on a list and get ready, and when it's available, if you're willing. If you're not willing, so be it. But as we move forward here, we are seeing an uptick, and we need to be smart. And, as much as I love the people of Michigan, and I think we have been, restricted in a lot of ways, now that the weather's a little better and people are out, and they've been so restricted, when we've been given a little bit of freedom, maybe we have pushed the boundaries a little bit. But we have a new variant, a couple of new variants that are very contagious out there. And, we have a pandemic. We have a bug going around out there. So I think people need to be smart, be respectful, and, social distance, wear your masks. Be careful when you get together with family and friends. You don't think of them as a mugger or somebody who's going to steal your purse, but they could be carrying the bug. So stay 6 feet away. And I know there could be all the, I'm hugging my kids. I get it. But the point is, let's be smart out there. We do have a situation. And one of the things that I think is very important, whether you like the governor, don't like the governor, think COVID is a hooey booey, if you're scared to death. One of the things that I think is very important as we move through this current phase of the COVID is that our hospitals and our hospital staffs, the doctors, the nurses, everybody, they're beat. That's one of the things I'm hearing, is that, they're not necessarily on ventilators like they used to be and all of that, but people are still coming in and they're still staying 4 and 5 days. That takes a lot of resources. And I read somewhere, I can't remember now, a nurse, I think she was down in the Lansing area, said it had been quiet, and so she'd gotten a break. And when she comes in to work one day, the floor is full of people. And she said she cried because it was like, oh my gosh, again? So here's how I want to, I think this analogy might work when you're thinking about where we're going. And don't think of some of these things that you're being asked to do, of social distancing, washing your hands, wearing a mask, be smart. If you go watch your kid play soccer outside, then 40 of you don't pile into somebody's house to have a party like you did a year ago, right? Think of our hospitals as a MASH unit. Remember the MASH show with Alan Alda? And they were constantly going and repairing those soldiers. Well, our hospitals and our emergency rooms and our ICU units and our floors that weren't normally set up for this type of thing, that are now dedicated to COVID, they're a MASH unit, and they've been at war for a year, and they're tired. So as you move forward, I know you're going to say, well, Jack, I have rights and our governor is an idiot. Not going to argue. That's fine. But just remember, it's not about the governor. It's not about idiocy. It's about the fact that we have a virus and we have MASH units in hospitals all across the state. And our doctors and our nurses and our orderlies and our candy stripers, if they still have candy stripers, I don't even know, are beat. Think of it that way. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. It's a MASH unit. They need a break. So let's be smart, okay? Superintendent Rice of the Michigan schools, he's the state superintendent. He was before our education committee and wanted to do away with all testing. And I'm not a big fan of standardized testing, as many as we do anyway. So maybe initially that seemed like a smart thing to do. Well, talking to some of my superintendents, they're like, whoa, wait a minute here. We need to do some type of standardized testing. Maybe we don't use it for all of the teacher evals and everything that we've done, but we got to know where our kids are at through this COVID thing. And if we don't do some type of standardized testing, we are hurting our kids. So they're in favor of at least one. So the feds have come back and said the state has to do the M-STEP. One test, let's figure it out. So I think that's a good idea. And it'll be interesting to see, and maybe this is the one reason why they didn't want to do it. It'll be interesting to see the districts that have been in person for most of the year, how they will do against these districts that have remained closed and virtual. Be interesting. So the Fed said, nope, you can't get away with it, Superintendent Rice. You got to have at least one test. You got to do the M-STEP. So that's where we're at. And from what I've heard from my educators, that's a good thing. Maybe we don't use it for all of the teacher evals and things because that wouldn't be fair, but we need to know where our kids are at. So I applaud that action. So that's good. One other thing on the COVID I wanted to mention is, just so you know, remember we were at 14-day quarantine if you were exposed? Well, we moved to 10. Well, the CDC and everybody is saying, let's go back to 14 because we've got these new very highly contagious variants. So let's make sure that if you've been exposed, you're careful and you quarantine. So we're back to 14 days. Again, I don't agree with a lot of things that have happened in this pandemic, but I do agree with some. And we do need to be smart. Remember that MASH unit. All right, jumping to elections as we continue to roll. Still, it's funny. There's a group of people, and you'll watch, I'm sure after I make this comment, there will be comments. There are people on this side that say the election was stolen. And then there are people on this side who say it was the most perfect election in the world. Well, they're both wrong. The election wasn't stolen. And it wasn't the most perfect election in the world. There were issues because of first-time mail-in ballots and all of that stuff. And we are investigating that, and we are moving forward on that. So when these two sides are 100% right, they think they are. So I just want you to know that, maybe that makes me some crazy person, but I like to think of myself as a reasonable human being that wants to get things done the right way. And if that means that we need to talk and discuss and not hammer and pound, okay. Elections. I don't think voter ID is a bad thing. I know some people do. As I mentioned in Monday's update, one of the things that was big last week was, well, you can't expect somebody to have a picture ID, a driver's license to vote, or that's discriminatory. But yet in the state of Michigan, over 7 million people have driver's licenses out of 10 million people. I don't think getting a driver's license is that hard, right? That's my thinking. According to the Strategic National Survey, 72% of the people surveyed support voter ID. 72%. And here's an interesting one. 58% of the blacks who were asked support voter ID. Wait a minute, I thought they were the number one group being discriminated against. 69% support stronger security at drop boxes. Well, sure. Basically, you're just throwing your vote into a thing that's like a mailbox that anybody, no, you got to have cameras on that. You got to seal it at certain points. 69% support stronger security at drop boxes, and 76% support verifying signatures on absentee ballots. I think that's called voter security. And I do believe that our mail-in ballot system, which is law now, that was one of the big flaws. So these people who say that the election was perfect, it was the best in the world, Secretary Benson is one of them, she's wrong. We had real problems with voter IDs on mail-in ballots. Doesn't mean we can't fix it. Doesn't mean we can't fix it. But it was a problem. So don't tell me it was a perfect election. It wasn't. Let's move forward. Let's be reasonable. Let's be smart. Let's be focused. But let's move forward and get things cleaned up. No, not right. Not right. Were there problems? Yes. So with that, I leave you. Oh, by the way, the governor's approval ratings have now dipped below 50%. Her job approval ratings are now below 50%. That is huge as we move forward. So I think a very political individual that she is noticing that, and it'll be interesting to see how she handles things moving forward, especially into an election year. All right, that's a Wednesday update on the passing scene. I'll be back with you on Friday. Hope you have a good evening. Again, waiting to see if I can ever get my COVID shot. I would suggest that if you are willing and able, you do the same, because I think it's a huge part of moving past this this pandemic, and it's an area that I do agree with the governor. The sooner we can get the vast majority of people who are willing and able to get vaccinated, the better off we'll be. All right? See you Friday.